Okay.
in that category. Okay, so let's
Yeah.
introduce ourselves. Hey, I'm Greg, and I'd like to introduce
Okay.
Yahi.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yahya.
Okay.
Sorry, that's my
Um,
bad.
I'm Yahya Ahmed, and I'm sociology student from University of Delhi Hindu College, and I've been playing with Gregg's system for around 1 year right now, and then I had this little confusion or this clarificationary like points
Right.
regarding his fourth joint point, and I sent him an article about that, and now we are talking about that.
Yep, exactly. So he think I got the whole ontology of culture all wrong. So yep. And so now, right? So I could share this whenever it gets posted. So we'll see
Yeah, yeah.
where to go with that. But yeah,
Okay.
he wrote me. There's a Medium article, and he makes a very good point that actually is implicit in a lot of my work, but needs to be made explicit. So I welcome the criticism. But it's also a good opportunity for us to discuss to make sure our
Yeah,
language
yeah.
systems are
Correct.
aligned.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So why don't you say a little bit about what's in the article from your vantage point as a sociologist? What did you hone in on, and what does the article critique me about? And then I'll respond to that.
Okay, I'll just pull up that article as well for my memory. Yeah, so the first point, I mean, it's like interconnected set of arguments actually,
Okay.
and like in the article, I don't think I have made a good job of explicating it like well. I mean, it could have been articulated well, like better. But yeah, so I'll start from an arbitrary point. Okay. So first point I make is that culture is not a subclass of mind, and in the way TOK is represented, all the in all other joint points, the higher level is a subclass of lower level. Life is a subclass of matter. Like in the entire possibility space of matter, life is a particular point in the, and mind is a subclass of life, like in the
Yep.
entire possibility space of life, mind is a
Mhm.
particular point there. But in the case of culture, it's the reverse. Like it's the reverse, not in the direct reverse, but in slightly, mind is part of culture. In all other thing, mind is part of biology, but mind is also part of culture. But in all other joint points, it's not like that. So in another way to formulate the same argument would be, okay, like the material surrounding, or yeah, the material surrounding of life is matter. The material surrounding of mind is biology. Like nerve cells are surrounded by biology.
Mhm.
But in the case of culture, culture surrounds mind. Do
Mhm.
you get that shift?
Yep.
Like is
No, I know what you're saying. Mhm.
Yeah, okay. So that's first point. So I mean, and the way TOK represents now, it doesn't work. Like so, it's a mistake in my viewpoint.
Mhm.
So is that clear? That was one point. Mm,
Yep. Mhm.
the next point was justification hypothesis.
Mhm.
So TOK makes the claim that justification hypothesis explains culture. Is that fair representation? No, like the justification hypothesis provides a basis for explaining culture.
That's a better way of saying it, but yep.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
the
yeah.
joint point.
Okay, I
Yep. It's a
mean,
better way. Yep.
yeah, I mean, yeah, but in the sense like, okay, okay, I mean, I didn't formulate it to
No,
a,
that's fine. Whatever.
yeah,
No, we're good.
yeah,
We're
yeah.
good.
Okay, okay. So I'll say it in another way. Behavioral investment theory explains mind, like in substantial. Yeah,
It,
the the
joint
the
point. Yep. Hmm.
yeah, joint point. Oh yeah. Uh, Behavioral investment theory is like rap- behavioral investment theory provides a good foundation, or no, I mean it explains, it's a joint point, but it explains that complexity level.
Okay, that's what. Yep, it's the
Okay,
foundational
yeah,
causal explanatory network that frames the
okay,
emergence of that. third dimension of complexity or plane of existence.
Yeah, emergence as well as the dynamics in the. Is that fair?
It
Okay,
frames
because
I mean, it frames the important thing because it creates the set of constraints and frames the then contingencies. But then, of course, all of the contingencies are specific to whatever the context
yeah,
is, and so
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
explaining all of
Okay,
that.
yeah, it doesn't explain in the sense like everything is, but
Right.
it provides a framework. Okay,
Exactly.
yeah, it
So,
provides a framework,
right.
and yeah, so
So
behavioral
the
investment theory.
analogy, just for people listening, I'll say the analogy for people listening is that I argue, and I think if you think about modern biology, okay, natural selection operating on genetic combinations to produce cells, all right, provides the unified framework for modern biology. In other words, natural selection, evolution by natural selection, genetics, and cell theory intersect together to provide a coherent framework, although they don't explain everything and there's still some mysteries, to create a coherent framework for the complex adaptive plane of existence we call life.
Okay, so that's biology level. So
Mhm.
it explains. Sorry, it provides a coherent framework for biology. Okay, and behavioral investment theory does the same thing to mind. Okay, the
Right,
argument here is that justification hypothesis doesn't do that for culture.
right.
So that's the second part.
Yep.
And the third part was that, okay, the third point was that what TOK tries to refer to, the reference point of culture by TOK should actually be, I mean, renamed as human society, because I mean, like I can make several arguments for that, because um, what okay, the
Right. So this is actually where we're going to actually agree, but actually it's going to change everything when as we agree. My prediction is that as we come to an agreement, all of a sudden there will be a shift in the nature of the argument.
yeah, but even I
Okay.
think so. It's not exactly clear in my mind as well. I don't know how
And I take
things.
some responsibility for this in my own shorthand, and I allude to various things, and I do say them, but I don't elaborate them on enough. So you really have to look for them when I should make them more clear. So I appreciate this
Yeah,
critique.
yeah. So human society. Okay, let me pull up the article.
Right. Actually, I'll let you share screen. You have a little diagram in there if you have it. We should show people because that helps.
Oh, okay. Share screen.
Do you know how to share screen? Hold on one second.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I gotta give you the. All right. I've now made you co-host, so you are. Do you know how to share screen? There's a little green
Yeah.
button
Yeah.
on the bottom. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Am I sharing right now?
Yep.
Okay. So this is just 1 second. Let me close this. Okay. So yeah, here is the third. Yeah. So what I mean is that, mm, yeah, human society. Yeah, what TOK tries to point to, the reference point of culture in TOK terminology is actually human society. Okay, I mean, I think that should be. I don't think I laid out the arguments here, because I
Right. Well,
don't know.
just go down and show them the picture you drew, and then we'll come back and process all this and
Yeah, yeah,
point it
yeah.
all out.
Okay, actually, I took it off because I
Oh.
realized it. Okay, okay.
Oh.
So
Okay.
okay, I'll show the picture though.
You can
But
find the picture. That's a good way
yeah,
to
yeah,
get us. I love these graphics because the graphics help us get clear
yeah.
about what the
But the
reference
thing
point
is
that
that
exactly.
I drew it the wrong way. That was the
Well,
problem.
it was close enough for to make the point as far as I was concerned,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it
yeah,
allows me to get clear about what I am saying relative to the point you're making, which is valid.
yeah,
But it's actually
yeah,
two
yeah,
valid
yeah,
points that we can then bring together to gain clarity.
yeah. So is all these things being shared?
Yeah, this is shared. If you can bring up the, I do not see the picture. The picture's not
Okay,
being shared.
are you seeing a black screen right now?
Nope, I'm just seeing your the
Chrome.
blog page. That's at
Okay,
the end where it
so
says conclusion.
this thing is not being shared. Actually,
Okay.
okay. So how
So if you
do
just,
I?
that's fine. I can describe it. It's not that big a deal.
Let me just try to upload the picture here, though.
Okay.
Sorry, I think I took the wrong thing. Yeah, no. Okay,
Yep, there it is. Yep, perfect.
okay. How do I?
Okay.
Okay, so the mistake I make is that now here this is joint points, but these
Yep.
are not joint points.
Yep.
So sorry, this is not a joint point. These are joint points. You get what
Okay.
I'm saying? I don't make the distinction between joint points and connections. Maybe connection
Yep.
to the system. Yep.
Okay.
So
Good.
that should be made.
Yep.
So here's the theory. What TOK tries to do is TOK places culture here. Like, is my arrow visible?
What's that? Yes, we can see your arrow. Yep.
Okay. So TOK tries to place culture here, but I argue that like it's actually human society TOK tries to refer to, and human society and the human society, the foundational framework of human society cannot be provided by justification hypothesis alone. I
Perfect.
mean,
Okay.
that's one piece, but
Yep.
like we need a lot more than that.
Right. Well,
Uh,
that's a.
uh,
This is explain. Just shows it. I think for people, if whoever's going to watch this,
okay,
but
yeah,
this shows it for people. So that's good.
okay,
Yeah, that's what I wanted to share. You
yeah,
can.
and like if we are making a taxonomy of components of human society, like a taxonomy from TOK perspective, that's I made within like 10 minutes or something. So it's there is linguistic mind, there is domesticated animals, there is cultural artifacts. So what I'm trying to mean is that the human society includes elements from all the mm,
Yep.
all the levels below,
Totally.
while culture, okay, the way TOK framed culture only included
Yep.
justification systems, which is not enough because just okay, as far as I understand, justification systems are propositional systems only. But even from a like okay, you also should include all the procedural knowledge that's being transferred, all the uh, participatory, all the Vervakian stuff, like the four levels
Yep.
of knowing. Yep, all those things are also part of human society
Totally.
or culture. And culture and human society is just different framings of the same domain, same
Oh,
reference.
wait a second. I don't
Okay,
think that's true.
uh, okay, yeah, okay, that's yeah,
so, so now we can, yeah. So now
yeah, yeah.
let's. All right,
Okay,
you
now
can
let's.
stop sharing. Let's pause. And I bet we did what we
Uh,
were.
okay, just a second. Yeah,
Perfect. Okay.
I don't mean they are same thing, but I think they are different framings of the same underlying domain.
Okay.
Does that
So
make
that's what
sense?
we need to. That's what we need to deconstruct. Okay. So
Deconstruct,
here
yeah.
we go. Okay. So first off, I'm glad you brought this out because it makes it explicit a key area that needs to be addressed. Okay.
Yeah.
I reference this, but I don't spend a lot of time on it. I have one of my best friends and original mentors is a sociologist, Joe Mikulski.
Okay.
And he,
What was the name?
Joe Mikulski.
Joe Makulski. I mean, for me to just check out later. I mean, does his are his works available online?
Mm-hmm.
Some,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Mm-hmm. So I mean, he's been he's a sociologist. He went in what's called pure sociology, which is a Blackian. Donald Black developed a thing called pure sociology, which is all about social frame, distance, networks, and forces that actually factor out human persons in psychology and just basically leaves the societal, social, relational structure. Okay, it's a very different model.
Okay.
In fact, he was an expert in that. Then he saw that it was limited. He came back to the unified theory and found me just randomly in 2012, and we hooked up. And we've been building bridges back and forth. But he will tell you that, and I will tell you. So this is the thing. So this is why you have to listen. I'll tell you that the culture, person, plane of existence. The best term for that is the culture, person, plane of existence. Is not the same thing as society.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not the same thing as society, but
not the same thing as society.
Okay. Okay. One way of formulating would be it's one component in the society.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's one component in the society that's deeply intertwined with material culture and structurally coupled with material culture.
Totally.
And yeah.
Right.
So I think I was not precise enough with my words. Yeah.
Well, I think you were. I mean, I wanted you to. I wanted to talk to you and honor you because you're actually. I appreciate your studying it and you're showing what appears to be a confusion in the system. And you're right to highlight that there's a lot of attention that needs to be brought. In fact, I was just having conversations with Joe McCluskey about this. So two professors, one a psychologist and one a sociologist.
Yeah.
You were honing in on something that has long been apparent to me. And a long-standing question that needs work, to clarify. Okay.
Yeah.
But the things that if you want to speak the TOK system language, okay, you have to learn what the terms mean, and you have to then learn how to speak them. Okay. Like I doubt that you speak mind in the way I speak the term mind.
Yeah.
Okay? You don't probably. Are you really familiar with B.F. Skinner's conception of behavioral selection and a behavioral epistemological approach to mind?
Not in that technical words, no. But I have watched a lot of you, so I mean, so I think I'm familiar with it, but I may not be as familiar as you want me
to. So immediately, I look at the diagram. I see you have domestic animals coming off of life.
Yeah. I mean,
Nope. All animals are at the mind level. So even if you were just playing the basic frame of reference, okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I apologize. I mean, there's a reason my system has not become widespread. Is because it tweaks our language in particular at foundational levels in particular ways. And then it's literally like learning French for somebody who doesn't know how to speak French. So it takes a while to internalize that. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's one of the issues. The mind dimension. Think about this. Okay. So mind represents the behavioral investment patterns of an animal. And then we can think about like a beaver. Okay. A beaver in an ecology chewing up the trees and building a beaver dam. Do you have beavers in India?
No. Okay. I haven't seen one.
Anyway,
but I do know that. I do know what it is.
So any animal that then goes ahead and creates an ecology, a bird building a nest. Okay. Notice the twigs on a nest are very influential to the way the bird behaves. Okay, like a bird has got to have eggs. I mean, they got to have a nest for the eggs to be able to create the whole mating pattern around that. Okay, so the technology, the ecological technology of a bird building a nest, all right, that's not what I mean by behavioral investment, but it interfaces with behavioral investment in a really important way.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to know, how does a bird building a nest in its environment relate to the concept of mind? Okay. And the answer is, actually, the term mind refers to animals in their environment behaving as whole creatures, okay, that create a cause-effect sequence on the animal or agent environment relationship, which then includes whatever the environment affords them and stresses them, and includes the feedback loops, for example, how they might build a nest. The mind represents the patterns of information processing. Okay.
Now, those two minds are distinct. Okay, I'm following.
Mind refers to the overall patterns of animal behavior. Okay.
Yeah.
But I've also written we can also then specify that if we say the mind of the bird, the mind of the bird refers to a good reference point is the information instantiated and processed by the nervous system that allows that bird to behave as a whole entity. So it's the information, the way it metabolizes, the way its nervous system metabolizes information and then coordinates that is one good definition of the mind.
Yeah.
So if you said the bird's mind, one meaning of that would be the neurocognitive information instantiated within the bird that allows the bird to engage in what people normally call bird behavior, but I would call mental behavior.
Yeah.
Okay, so the bird, you watch the bird tweet, the bird will tweet to its mate. Okay, that communicates. All right, and then the bird will build a nest, and the two birds get together. They lay the eggs, and they take care of the little, baby birds that come along.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now let me just make a point. So all those interactions now, like the interaction between birds, I would characterize all those interactions as constructing society.
Okay. Good. Okay. Fair enough.
So that's okay. That's where I put society in.
Okay.
So bird is in society in some sense, but it's not really in as in like bird is in a container, but it's as if like the order, the emergent order, the order which emerges from those interactions as well as constrains the possibility space of those included in it.
Okay. So if we're talking about just birds before people, let's talk about an evolutionary term. So before people were along, birds were doing this. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I would say that then the birds will create a social ecology, okay, which we could call then the bird society.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that refers to the group behavior and the large scale ecological context that the birds live in.
Yeah, that would be the environment of the society.
Right. That's equivalent to their society. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I would basically say then what you have is the level of analysis issue. So what the level of analysis is, hey, I can look at the bird like one neural impulse. That's one level of analysis of why it tweeted right there. Then I can look at the individual bird. Okay. Why does this bird avoid this predator and go to this prey?
Yeah.
Then I can, so that's the behavior of the bird as a whole. Then I'll jump to group bird behavior. Okay. And then I'll put group bird behavior, which can be a network of group behavior. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I'll put that in a ecological context.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's and all of that in my terminology is the mind dimension.
Okay. That's, yeah. So, you go, okay. I thought you were stuck.
Nope. No, I'm stuck. We just need to pause on that because that's weird. Okay. That's
yeah. That's weird. I mean, yeah, because, yeah. But the thing is, so you're including society inside mind.
Well, for two things. Okay. I would not, I want to reserve the term society for just humans on the one hand. Okay. I don't want to call, I can allude that to like, that's a proto-society, but I want to call it a socio-ecological group of birds. Okay. That have that whatever. And then we can bring the comparative psychologists and ethologists. Ethologists are scientists that study animal behavior and sociobiologists to then look at all the group bird behavior. Okay. And that's a group bird behavior is very different than individual. And we can call them a flock of birds. We can call them a whatever the proper group structure would be. Okay. And it's a higher level of analysis, but in the unified theory language, where all the flock of birds exists at the mental dimension of complexity, at individual and group levels. And those are different, but that's the language.
Okay. So the problem, not really problem, but so if, okay, so the TOK is aiming to integrate all knowledge, right? So from a sociological perspective, this would be society in my terminology, but proto-society, that should be enough. So how do we trace proto-society into the
Right. So
culture?
okay. So then
Yeah.
then the argument is this. So now we can go from birds and then we
Yeah.
can go to primates. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go to baboons. Okay. Well, it's the
Okay.
same
So
basic.
it's happening within the same.
Yep. Now we're still on mind. It's just a
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Now we're in primates instead of crows or
Yeah.
whatever. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're
Yeah.
now, and maybe primates are a little more complicated than crows. Okay.
Yeah.
They're definitely more. Crows and primates are way more complicated than alligators. Okay. In
Mhm.
terms of their complexity of the neural information processing and social societal relations, birds, crows, and primates are more complex. So this is the cone that's growing in complexification. Okay.
Mhm.
And then we can follow now the primate line into all the monkeys, and then there's the great apes, and then we get the chimpanzees.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we're following our specific line.
Okay, so the mind include both collective behavior as well as the individual behavior.
Completely.
So the collective behavior is what how we'll trace society back into the.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, so that's clear for me. But for the audience, if you want to move.
Right.
Yeah.
So then we're going to make a couple of steps because I want to be clear. You are pointing
Yeah.
something very important here that needs to be filled in. Okay.
Yeah.
So we want to be clear about. It's always bothered me. This point that you raised always has annoyed me. So it's a good point. Okay. It's not like you're not seeing anything. You're seeing something very important. In fact, like I said, I'm on the cusp, perhaps, of dialoguing with my sociologist friend to ways put this through, so you can work with us on this.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So
it's
now
an
we
honor to talk to you, by the way.
Oh, good. So here's the story is that, okay, collective social animal psychology is happening in the groups in a bunch of primates are hanging out.
Yeah.
Okay? And then we make 2 steps away from, like, so you look at great apes where they are now, and of course they're ancestors from 5 million years ago, but the great apes, if we look at bonobos and great apes and chimpanzees, they look pretty similar, and they probably haven't changed a whole lot in the last 5 million years.
Yeah.
Okay? So we can go back and say common ancestor looked a lot like something like a chimpanzee, bonobo, and a gorilla, somewhere in there, 5 million years ago. Okay. Then we jump off, and then by 3 million years ago, we're walking around. Okay, and that changes stuff. And then we start hunting and gathering. Okay, and make hand axes. That's a big jump. So now we actually have these tools that we use in a significantly different way than chimps, although they of course use tools. Okay. Let's say, 2 million years ago, we got hand axes. For 1 million years, we walk around with these damn hand axes. All right. And then about 500,000 years ago, okay, we really start this process, gets us syncing up, okay, without language, but we're getting gestures. We start to really gesture with each other and develop what Michael Tomasello calls shared attention and intention. Okay.
Yeah.
Shared attention and intention means I can read your mind. I can guess, oh, I know what you're thinking. Okay. With a much greater facility and at a much younger age than chimps. Okay. They read minds and they get together and you can test this empirically. You can see, like, how quickly do infants point? How quickly do they get that you're going to look in there? How quickly do they track how well you are seen? Okay. Infants are born really to sync up with parents and other adults and learn by, like, age 1, start learning how to read intention and engage in shared attention. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So that's a big deal because, as Michael Tomasello says, the cognitive capacity for implicit intersubjectivity is qualitatively better for our kind of ape. Okay. All right. So that's 500,000 years ago. And then Homo sapiens, of course, there are other, the Denisovans and Neanderthals, whatever. We're going to track the Homo sapien line. The argument is that in the shared intersubjective space where we start to really gesture, we coordinate our hunting, we build fires, we're doing stuff collectively together. So we have this hunter-gatherer arrangement, all right? Then we start the process of going from broken symbolic language, okay, into propositional speech.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
This is big deal. Okay.
Yeah.
Propositional speech is, hey, antelope there, okay, versus there are the antelope. That's the shift. When I say there are the antelope, okay, now all of a sudden I've made a factual claim. That's what a proposition is, a factual claim, which interestingly opens up all sorts of potential counterfacts. Okay, and it is this propositional language gives rise to the problem of justification. Okay.
Yep.
And now you say, how do you know that the antelope are over there? Or should we go hunt them? Or I'd rather hunt gazelle, or any number of other possible question-answer dialogue. Okay. And now the argument is now we're networked, okay, into a question-answer dialogue. And that is what gives rise to basically for humans an entire another mind, our cultural mind, on top of our behaving mind.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And the argument is that this shared cultural space, okay, is what the tree of knowledge is tracking. It's this shared cultural space of justification. Okay.
Okay.
Which is okay. That's what it's saying. And what it says is this has become this shared justification space becomes the network that then coordinates our behavior. Okay, in the world. And it allows us to cooperate and compete and hunt and build technologies in a totally different way than other animals. Okay. Yeah. And the argument is over the last 50,000 years, we see the complexification of human behavior taking off because of culture person evolution.
Okay. Yeah, I got it. But so the reason why the complexification, or in Hall's terms, it would be like increasing complicatedness of human society. So apart from the role of justification systems, like the material culture plays a huge role.
Totally.
So how do we fit that in here?
That's a great question. Okay, but I want you to say you're using the right terminology. So material culture, like this cup, okay, plays a huge role if I can gather water or coffee, share it with you. Okay, it opens up our behavioral investment pattern, and what technologies we build changes our behavior investment hugely, and how we then think about the world. Okay, so it definitely is the case, but it is also the case that what is coordinating our behavior in this model are the systems of justification. The cup makes a behavioral investment potential, okay? But if it just sits there, all right, as soon as we unplug from it, it's like a fossil artifact. It just sits at the material plane. It doesn't. We have to engage behavioral investment and justification with it to give it part of the complex dynamic system. Okay. So what the tree of knowledge is saying is that I'm tracking the evolution of justification. The justifications are then pulling material culture. And that's why if you read me carefully, I'm saying I'm not talking about society as a whole. That's a different problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Society in my language is the entirety of it all. Okay.
Yes.
Culture refers to justification. Social scientists have not pulled out culture with a capital C from, okay, little c culture, which is with animals, actually. So animals have cultural groups. Okay, we see that in chimps as little c culture. All right. And because of material culture and technology, it grows. Human society is the behavioral practices that we share, which creates little c. Capital C justifications and material technologies all embedded in the environment, and that's the big picture of society.
Yes.
Okay? And society is not on the tree of knowledge.
Yes. Okay. That clarified a lot of things. Yeah. So got it. Yeah. The key mistake I made was the confusing mind, not including the collective behavior at the level of mind level.
It's easy to do. I mean, it's a weird language, but that's what it, but like French, you have to learn, that's what it means. And I can totally justify it because you should know that in the history of at least Western science, okay, one of the earliest scientific study of groups of animals is comparative psychologists. They would go out and they'd study like groups of ants and bees and compare mental processes and how they would generate group formations before the 20th century. Okay? So there is a whole history. We don't think about this now, but in the tradition of psychology, the earliest studies of group behavior were carried out by comparative psychologists, which were looking at mental processes across the animal kingdom and how they would create group patterns and other kinds of processes. But we lost, comparative psychology dies, and most people think about psychology now as human mind and at the individual and human level. But the tree of knowledge and its history tied to the history of science in this lens, and the reason it categorizes it, it says actually we should have stayed with comparative psychology. And if we had, we would be a lot more clear on the point that you.
Okay, so it clarified the entire thing. It's so tree of knowledge doesn't have society in its model. Yeah. So how do we do that?
Well, that's a great question. So and this is what's happening right now, actually. This is why all the scientists need to come together. So I'm a psychologist. I can hook up with cultural anthropologists. Okay. So this social construction of knowledge basically plugs me right into the social constructionists. You mentioned that in the blog. And the social constructionists then are aligned with cultural anthropology. So cultural anthropology is basically like, oh, what the hell is this thing called culture that groups of people get together and they generate shared understanding, like Clifford Geertz, okay? Like his conception of culture, and Berger and Luckman's conception of social construction is my justification plugs right into that. Okay?
Yep.
All right, so we're there. Then we can basically use all of this to take care of sort of hunter-gatherers operating at the Dunbar number of 150 people, building, relatively little technologies like cups and huts and nets and all that shit. Okay. And then they have ideas about the way the world works. They start building art, and we see caves in France, and we're like, oh, okay. 30, 40, 50,000 years ago, there's a animated religion, okay, about how the world works. Then we start doing art and all that stuff. Okay. But what happens 10 to 12,000 years ago is we shift, okay, from living off and in the land to living above the land with agriculture. Okay. We create agriculture and we plant ourselves on the land, and we also then start creating civilizations, right? Cities. Okay. So that by 5,000 years ago, huge numbers of people are organized into cities, all right, that have created a material, cultural, technical bubble that we are living in. Okay. And this, the tree of knowledge just points to this, but it doesn't have a theory of evolution of material culture in it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole nother, it's a map of natural processes, really. I mean, artificial techno processes are not, it's a map, it's not the territory, it's a map of a side of the territory so we can get clear. Okay. But now you have all this material culture. Now, what the tree of knowledge does say, so you get the cities, and now this is really crucial. It's like, well, how the hell do cities change things? Well, that's a great question, because now we're building this whole architecture, material cultural architecture, like where people are located, how it channels them on roads, and who they talk to, and what the network is. And then there's all this interactive effect, totally, that needs to be accounted for. And that's and the sociologists who are concerned with society need to attend to that. And so do economic people. I mean, economic market exchange shit is a new material cultural transaction, behavioral system transaction that, is not immediately accounted for. So economics, I have a frame for it. Basically what I'm saying is that the unified theory of culture creates the foundational base that could reorganize the social sciences, especially sociology.
Sure.
Okay. So, but that needs, I've never said there's a unified theory of sociology. Okay?
No.
It's a framework for the social sciences. That's a different thing. Sociology's got to grab itself by the balls and be like, hey, here's how I blend material culture and justification in a unified theory. Great. That would be wonderful. Then sociology could actually be grounded on something. That'd be great.
Do you know anyone who's doing the work from this frame? Because I want to see people who are doing work from this particular frame that you laid out. Because
Yep.
yep, sociology does. I mean, you say like there is this problem of psychology. I feel like the problem is 100 times worse in sociology because
Yeah.
yeah, in our syllabus, the way we are taught is like, okay, you have to read some Marx now some Weber, now read some Durkheim.
Totally.
Okay, now come
That's
to
right.
contemporary, like
That's right.
it's yeah, like I mean, you don't learn anything really from the degree because of there is no
So this
integration between
right.
concepts.
So I can because I get my so I needed biology to get organized. Okay. And
Yeah,
then I need to come along and organize psychology. All
yeah,
right. And then now you have a foundation for that. And then we can look up the fucking sociology and see where it is in relation and then start to organize all of that problem. But that
yeah,
is a different problem than the tree of knowledge solves.
yeah. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So the yep, got it.
So that's really
Yeah,
key. Now the final thing I wanted to say why this is unbelievably important today, like this century.
yeah.
Remember what I said about this cup? Okay. I
Mhm.
leave it over there and it sits. Okay. It doesn't really interact with my information processing communication system unless I make it interact with it. It doesn't independently interact.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In the 20th century, what did we do? What kind of material technologies did we build? We built artificial intelligence systems.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Right. Yeah. See?
What?
Holy shit. We built artificial intelligence systems that now will interface with how we talk. Look at us. We just collapsed into you're in India, for the love of Christ, right? In 1 second, we collapsed the space-time thing, and you and I drop into a room together through this mediated technology system. And it's like, oh my God. I mean, that's a totally different network effect
Yep.
now, right? Because that's mediated through
Now they're the god in this in some sense.
exactly. That's right. And I knew 6 months after I built the first TOK picture, the picture fell out of my head in 1997. Okay, fell out of my fucking head. I was stoned. I was like, oh God. I just had a whole insight. And within 6 months of that, I was like, oh my God. Each one of these is this information processing communication thing. Genes,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and cells communicate, nervous systems and animals communicate, and then of course this talking and people communicate. It's like our material culture, which I was intersecting at the fifth joint point. Like we are in this 20th century. We're like, okay, jellyfish right before the Cambrian explosion in mind. They don't have brains. They don't have complex active bodies. They have neural networks distributed all over them. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the Cambrian explosion, 550 million years ago, that's as the explosion is what happens is those body systems get complex, they get active, they get organized by a centralized brain, and then animals really start fucking moving. Okay. With complex active bodies. Well, we laid down the internet. It's like the jellyfish of, okay. And the 21st century is like, oh my God, we're going to sync up and create some sort of digital virtual brain around the global sensorium, and we'll all network together. And that's going to mean the culture, capital C, is now going to be directly interfacing with some variant of information processing off of material culture. And it's going to explode us into a whole new dimension of complexity. And that's why sociologists better get their ass together so we can figure out what the hell's going to happen.
Yeah. I didn't actually thought of it in that frame. So it's deep actually. It goes. Oh, yeah. But okay. So okay, the way you represent fifth joint point is as if it comes from justification systems, but it actually plugs into justification systems rather than coming out of
Right. So,
justification.
remember what you were saying about society. Like, okay, we actually, and remember what birds sort of live in their society, all this proto. But then we did 10,000 years ago, we built a technological society. Look at us. I live in a fucking house, right? Okay, but are still mostly just justification that we're living inside of, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then when we built computers, artificial intelligence, and the internet,
Mm-hmm.
we brought the whole fucking thing alive in an information processing system that we're now interfacing with.
Mm-hmm.
So now the material culture is like becoming alive that we're inside of. And as that happens, that's when it's like, oh God, the intersection of that is going to change our behavior patterns. So we better get this right. And we're now we really are fusing into a different dimension. And by the end of this century, if we make it, we'll be living at a totally different level than we've been living 100 years ago. And this is the transition period.
Yeah. Just, yeah. So, yeah, that was really insightful. It's okay. Can you point me to some people who are working through the frame you told me, like who are working in sociology through the frame you have told me?
Yep.
Yeah. So you'll send me some.
Yeah, no, I'll put, here's what I'll put you on my, I have a theory of knowledge listserv. I'll ask you to join that. Okay.
Okay. Sure.
And we'll put this up. I'll tell my person who manages the TOK-21 web YouTube. We'll put this up. I'll share this little thing. You know, there's like 150 people on the list. And then we'll see if anybody watches it. I'll make sure I already sent your essay to my friend Joe, the sociologist. Okay. He was like, yep, that's what he's getting at, this sociology point, Gregg. And I was like, I know, Joe, I'm not a sociologist. You know, I'm not hostile to that. I solved the problem I should say the Tree of Knowledge solves the problem of American psychology. Okay.
Yeah.
We should be aware. I mean, we all get raised in our systems of justification, right? That's what we get. I mean, I was taught, my parents taught me, and then I was taught about what science was, and I was taught about how to think about the mind. And so I came in with a whole system of justification, a language game. And then I learned about it. And then as I really absorbed it, I was like, oh my God, it's all wrong. It's like, it's all broken. Okay. Just like you're learning about sociology now. Okay.
It's a disaster, actually.
It's a disaster.
Because like in first some, like we are just learning random concepts which have no more utility. It's like most of the concepts doesn't have, it's like Durkheimian, I mean, he's operating from an like positivistic paradigm. It's just how
right. So and it's not accidental, by the way, that it was 70 years ago, okay, that biology finally got organized. Biology didn't get organized till the 1940s. Okay. And then I coming along, you know, so that's pretty recent, right? Now I'm coming along and it's like, holy shit. And of course, if sociology is just like, there would be no way that I could have, the whole unified theory, the behavioral investment theory, it takes Skinner, which is like Darwin, okay, and marries it to an information processing model, which is like genetics.
Yeah.
And there's no way I would put that together if biology hadn't put natural selection and genetics together. Okay. So we need the system. And what I did is I was like, oh my God, American and Western thought is all fucked up when it comes to the mind. They don't know what they're talking about with the mind. Everybody has all these different definitions. They don't line up. Okay. So then I figured out a way that I had my insights. I divided the human person mind, this talking mind, from the primate feeling and acting mind through just. I cut that off. And everyone talks about language, and that's important. That's actually, it's justification. That's really the important. Okay. That's what my big insight was. And then the TOK said, oh my God, all the social sciences are up here at this person, culture, societal, human society shit. Okay. And then all of the animals are back there, down from primates into birds into crustaceans. Okay. But psychology doesn't know any of that. Why don't we know that? Everybody knows that people behave differently than primates and apes, right? But we didn't have any theory of that. There's no theory of that. That's what I found. And then the Tree of Knowledge grounds that. And now I'm begging sociologists of the future, like, take the ball and then figure out how to get material culture and society and culture together. And we need it for the 21st century, brother, because man, now is a real fusion, not just a, acting fusion, a real fusion.
So the way I the way I conceptualize, the way I see that domain is as if structural coupling between material culture plus human mind within the context of environment. But the problem is, how do we actually trace out the details and dynamics?
Well, so basically dump all the shit I just put on you, okay?
Yeah.
Use your good mind to start metabolizing that, put stuff in right places, and then we'll have another conversation. and then we'll come back and see if we can start to piece this thing together.
Yeah, I love to have that. Yeah, I'll try to say, I mean, it's really good frame though. Like reading TOK was one of the best thing I ever did, and it made a lot of sense. And like I was reading all the sociology texts, and it was just random concepts from here there. It didn't make any sense. And reading the TOK, it was like, oh,
Yep, that's
everything
what,
clicks.
absolutely. And
Everything clicks until here. Now, what the hell is sociology now? It doesn't make any sense. So now I have to like, so the current proto, like my working version is the thing I just told, but now uh, the problem would be like having organizing a lot of empirical data. So and yeah, like, and then you'll have to trace it all the way back from
right,
proto
so
societies to the current.
totally. So what I can do is I can tell you how I did it with psychology. Okay,
Yeah, thanks.
I'll tell
Yeah.
you how I did it with psychology, and what I see at the outline form of sociology and the thought I've given to it. I can also hook you up with Joe Bukowski if he's
Oh,
got time to
that
chat.
that would be that'd
Okay?
be really.
And then yeah, I mean the next generation, you know, by 2030 to 2040, we need sociologists picking up the ball here and having new insights that allow us to complete the picture. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
the tree of knowledge gives us insight into physics, but I'm not a physicist. There's no way I'm going to solve quantum gravity. It gives insights into biology, but I'm not going to solve that. I did solve a lot of the fucking problems with psychology.
Yeah.
And then there's all this stuff above it. And by the way, we're all on this Mother Earth ship together. And this fifth joint point thing is real. It's happening, brother. We better get on this thing and get in control about this, how this evolution fuse. And sociologists, if they get their act together, they can tell us very clearly about the angles of our nature, the nature of networks, the ways in which different systems move interacting, and material culture and capital C culture interfacing to create the next dimension. That's where sociology, if they get their act together, will actually have huge insights and discoveries to be made.
Yeah. So, do you have any direction for me to go in terms of conceptualizing society?
Just see what metabolized here. Shoot me some emails. We'll wrap up now because obviously I dumped a fair amount on you. Okay.
Yeah.
Just get a good night's sleep. You know, wake up, start metabolizing, and shoot me an email.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'll hook it up with Joe, and then I'll join you to the list. And when I'll put you on today, but when we announce this, I'll introduce you, and then see if I have a couple people in anthropology and sociology. Most people are psychologists, a few philosophers. There are other people on the list, but we'll get you interested and see if the social science people will hook up, and we'll continue conversation. That's the beauty of this network, at least. If we do it right, we actually dialogue. We don't have to get annoyed with each other. It's just like, where the hell are you coming from, brother?
Yeah, like the internet is really awesome. It's like I'm from India, like from Kerala, and like you're from we're from USA.
Totally opposite side of the
It's the opposite sides of the earth.
That's right. But notice, because of our justification system trailing and the way our minds work, think of how quickly you and I are able to sync up, right? Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Okay. And if we can sync up with the right systems, we can actually start the process of getting material culture and earth in much better sustainable harmony. That's really what this whole freaking project is about. Okay.
And then what should I do with the article that I already wrote?
I mean, do what you want with it. See if something. I'd be happy to edit it so that I would say.
Oh, can you please edit it and like add your whatever?
How about you sit on, because I dropped a few insights on you. Sit on this. See where you want to go with it. I can then see how you edit it, and I'll edit it after you edit it next, and then we can definitely say, here's what I want to say. I'll tell you what I want you to say, and you can say there's a limitation. Okay, it's not wrong because if you read it carefully, but there's a huge limitation. Okay, and the limitation is what is the actual bridge, the sociological bridge between material culture, macro level human organization, and this capital C justification? That's not put together, and it's not clear in the system that I'm not talking about society. It's easy to get mistaken that I'm making the claims that you thought I was making. Let's criticize me for that. I'm not clear on that. Once we get clear, but that's what I mean. Now that we actually agree what we both mean, right?
Yeah.
Then we can say, but there is this whole open question, and the next sociologists need to see that this actually gives you a science grounding that you now have work to do, just like I did with psychology. Right?
Yep.
You say that, I'll be like, I'm signing on to that. I'll tweet that thing all over the damn nation to my 300 followers. All right.
Okay. Yep. Thanks.
Great. All right, brother.
Thanks for this.
Enjoy talking. Yep. We'll be back in touch. Take care.
Yeah. Bye.